Welcome on stage, Steph Hay.
Can you hear me? Ah, guten Morgen. Wie geht's, wie steht's? That's all I know, so please don't ask me anything else in German. I will stare at you blankly. Well, I'm so super stoked to be here. My name is Stephanie Hay. I'm a writer and information architect based outside Washington, D.C. I'm also co-founder of a startup called Fast Customer, which is not yet outside of the United States, but someday we will be, and then you will never have to wait on hold for customer service again. It'll be a beautiful thing. Yes, I know. Not there yet, but soon. So I'm really here today because of two reasons, primarily. Number one, because I love content. I care about content. And so I'm going to be spending today really talking to you about some of the things that I do whenever I'm trying to write content that I really want someone to enjoy reading. And the second reason I'm here is because, as Mark alluded to, in May, he took this picture of me about a minute after I met him. Oh, look, I'm even wearing the same earrings. Yeah. My hair is all straight. I look really happy. Because Mark asked me to be here, obviously, and so I just want to thank Mark for having me. And I also want to thank Stefan for taking this picture of Mark and also picking me up at the airport. I'm sorry I didn't ask permission to put this in my slideshow. You're not going to sue me, are you? Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, so like I said, I care about content. And so when I say content here, I don't just mean words. I mean compelling content, the kind of stuff that we don't see quite enough of, in my opinion, on the web. The stuff that makes you want to do something, vote, or buy, or sign up, or just come back and keep reading. So my goal today for you is to be able to leave here with some new guidelines that you could follow the next time you find yourself having to write content. And some tips and tricks and seeing some examples of sites that work and don't work in conveying what I consider to be the three elements of compelling content, which I'll get into along with some examples in a bit. But first, I hope you will indulge me, and can we bring up the lights slightly so I can see your beautiful faces? No? No? Oh, there you are. Oh, you're so beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to ask three questions, and please raise your hand if any of these apply to you. First question, how many of you do not consider yourself to be a strong writer? Hey everybody. Okay. Okay, second question. How many of you feel like you've been part of launching a product where the content doesn't quite rise to the same level of design or development? Yeah. Hello again. Okay. Okay, and the last question, how many of you feel like the content that you've had to, how many of you have written content that ultimately was seen by an end user? Right, again, everybody, okay? So, why is this, right? So we don't really consider ourselves strong writers, but at the end of the day, we end up having to write content that an end user sees. And at the beginning of the project, we all start here. We think we've got an awesome idea, product, service, a client. We want everyone to know how awesome we are. We want the users to think that we're awesome. We are just on a big awesome party. By the way, this picture has nothing to do with my slideshow. Just look how cool that is. That's a knit hat with like the mouth guard that looks like a beard. Probably not something I would buy, but if you're a dude who has a hard time growing a beard, you should have this. Anyway. Okay, so why is this again? So maybe we follow this sort of process where we start here. Everybody's on the same page. Awesome. Then we start with a process that looks something like this. We do some strategy in the beginning, think about the way the site's going to look and feel through some UX and design. Initial approvals come in, we build it. Then we're going to integrate social media. We're going to populate the empty spots with content. We'll do some QA and probably some unnecessary tweaks that really make us grit our teeth, and then we launch it. So you see, we think about content exactly twice during a typical process. Once in the beginning, and once at the very end when we're filling in the blanks. So let's just say, let's take this a little step further and say that we're a media company, a consulting company, and we're redesigning our website. So our content might ultimately end up following a format something like this. What we do, who's on our team, ways you can get a hold of us. Oh my God, are you serious? Why does everybody do this? Why does everybody do this? I mean, we are constantly fighting for users' attention. We want them to pay attention to us. But then we don't pay attention to what we're saying. We think we can do everything in the design and the functionality. And there are loads of reasons why this sort of process exists, and this sort of formula is the formula that you see applied to content across any type of site. And I could stand up here and talk ad nauseum about the importance of hiring a copywriter, but budgets, and there is reality and that sort of thing. So instead, I'm really going to be focusing today on capitalizing on the fact that I have an audience full of designers and developers mostly. Yes? Yes? Oh, yes. Oh, okay, okay. So I'm going to help you understand some of the things that I do, so the next time that you're looking at that blank page, you don't panic, and you can potentially write some compelling content that gets away from this boring sort of approach. And the three elements of compelling content that I consider to be pivotal here are focus, credibility, and consistency. So I'm going to get into each of these and show you examples of portfolio sites, services companies, product companies, some that work, some that don't work, in hopes that one of these examples really sticks in your brain, and the next time that you find yourself having to do this, that you can go back to it and use some of these guidelines as well to write great, compelling content. But I don't want to gloss over the fact that this is really hard. This is the reason why that formula exists, and why when I went through, this resonated with you, is because it's hard and it takes time. And I'm not advocating a process shift necessarily, but I am advocating paying a bit more attention where there is lorem ipsum right now in your mocks, that maybe there could end up being compelling content there, and you could be responsible for it. So let's dig in, shall we? Yeah. Thank you. Yes, all right. First up, focus. In which areas can focus be demonstrated? There are really three elements here: audience, medium, and network. So what I do when it comes to audience, I imagine one person sitting across the table from me, or over a beer or coffee, whatever. What is that one person like? What's her day like? Is she tech savvy? What kind of phone does she carry? Does she have kids? What kind of car does she drive? What is she trying to do? Can I help her do that? What are the questions that she has that I can answer before she asks those questions? By imagining one person sitting across a table from you, you're better able to imagine what kind of conversation you would have, which means that when you're staring at a blank piece of paper, you can start actually writing down words that might be said during that conversation. This is a great starting point versus what a lot of people typically do, and as designers you probably know this too from a creative brief, which is reach some faceless, unnamed demographic, like women ages 18 to 35. The way I would talk to an 18-year-old woman is vastly different than a 35-year-old woman, but one of those is my target audience member, so I'm going to start with one. I'm going to focus on that one ideal person. I'm going to speak directly to him or her. And then I'm going to eventually add in additional audience members, and I'm going to think about what those conversations are like if I can imagine that one person sitting across a table from me without alienating that first audience. By the way, I haven't written anything yet. I'm just imagining this. So this is just some simple note-taking that you would do. What is the kind of conversation I want to have with my target audience member? The second element of focus, medium. How are we going to get there? How are we going to convey this message? It is so monumentally difficult to try and write everything you want to say ever on a homepage. So don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. If you've got a feature area or where a call out, whatever, and you know that you've got to put some content there, don't try to do everything in one spot. Imagine, what are the additional communication channels you can use? I mean, what are some other ways that you are communicating with your audiences? Huh? Anybody? Anybody? Twitter? What else? Come on, dudes. Give it to me. Blog posts? Email? Facebook? YouTube? There's so many ways that you can communicate with your audience. that trying to do it all through a homepage is just some crazy pressure that people put on themselves, which ends up leading to content paralysis. So don't do that. Consider all the different communication channels that you have at your disposal that you can use to continue telling a story about whatever it is that you're selling. Don't think in isolation. That'll help you get going with the words. And then finally, you're going to focus on the network. This is not hardware. This is people. Outside of your own bubble, there are people who are looking in, and they have influence. What are they going to say about you? How do you want them to talk about you to your target audiences, whom they are influencing? By thinking about those additional folks in your network, it's going to help form the different types of content that you're going to write today to reach them. So don't forget the other's reach. Consider how your network will describe you and ultimately influence your target audience. People are going to be out there talking about you. How can you capitalize on that? With me so far? All right. Your enthusiasm is really overwhelming. All right. So now we're ready to write. And this is where it starts getting into some of the examples. Credibility is everything. Without credibility in your content, with really easy things to fix like typos or just general compelling content, you're just so much more, you're so much more poised to be able to capture engaged users by really paying attention to the details. And so credibility usually has these 4 elements. It's meaningful, helpful, results-oriented, and confident. And I'm going to get into each of these now with some examples, the first being meaningful. Meaningful content has substance. I know you can't read this, so I'm going to read to you. This is the Health and Human Services. It's a government agency in the States. And it's got some bullet points on its What We Do page that actually make sense. Financial assistance and services for low-income families, for example. But right above it, health information technology? Like what? What does that even mean? Are you providing it? Can I go to you and get this? This means nothing. This means something different to everyone. It's not helpful at all. It's not meaningful. And for the most part, we can't afford to just fill space. If something has been designed for content and there's no content to go there, what are you going to do except just fill space? That's not providing any meaning to the user. So take the time to ensure your writing really says something. I think a good example of a portfolio site that does this is Dave DeSandro states, he's a front-end developer, and on his portfolio site, this illustration, every window, door, and panel is rendered purely with HTML elements, no images involved. This is meaningful. Someone who comes to his portfolio site and hovers over that and sees how he works, how he thinks, how this was built. It's really important to somebody who's a front-end developer and somebody who's hiring a front-end developer. It means something. The National Breast Cancer Foundation. I have cancer. It doesn't have me. Early detection. Just diagnosed. You are not alone. These are the sorts of words. This is a sort of content that means something. If you've just been diagnosed with cancer, you're coming to this site to find resources to learn because somebody you love has just been diagnosed. It's clearly catered to an audience in a way that's trying to be compelling. It certainly enforces their credibility. LifeLock. My name is Ashana and this is my story. The prose goes on to talk about how this person's identity was stolen. If you're coming to the LifeLock site, it's because you are concerned with identity theft. So seeing somebody's story about it resonates with you. It's meaningful. It reinforces their credibility as somebody who's providing services, protective services in that way, and you're much more likely to click enroll now when you don't have to wonder whether or not this person is trustworthy. That content means something. And it's very easy just to say what it is that you do and offer a button that says, now do this, now click here. You want to take the time to make sure that what you're saying is actually meaningful. By the way, caveat, I'm not a designer, so try to avoid looking at the designs of these sites. I'm only focused on the content. Okay, second element, credible content. You want to be helpful, right? Most of us can't afford to just put up some pictures and expect that the audience knows what to do. This is not a Wendy's site. And putting up some numbers and a big button that says sign up free without actually telling any audience what you do or why they should do that, it's a stretch. And you don't want to assume that users know what to do. You want to tell them exactly what you want them to do. Len D'Amico's a portfolio. He's a designer based outside Philadelphia. I make words, pictures, and pixels play nice together. This is plain language. This isn't this long prose sentence. He goes on to show additional featured projects. Want to see more of my work? Find a bit about me or get in touch? Yes, that's exactly what I want to do. Those are the 3 things that I could possibly do with this portfolio site. Thank you. It's very helpful. The Tribal DDB site, under their main feature area, is this little prose here. We're glad you're here and we hope it's on purpose. Then they go on to tell you about themselves in a way that's really fun, because they're not even expecting that you came to the site on purpose, and they're still helping you understand what it is that they do. And Mint.com, which has redesigned its homepage, they're asking for your financial information. So it's crucial that they be considered credible. And they're helping you understand their credibility and trust them by, across the board, continually using words like safe and secure, free, manage. All of your accounts in one place. Free, get started here. Safe, secure, privacy. We're not going to share your shit with anybody. And this is crucially important for what they're trying to do, because if you don't trust them, you're not going to give them your bank account information and be able to track your money online. All right. Results-oriented. So the third element of credible content is this results-oriented. Let's say I want to get a conference call number. So I'm running a startup and I need to have conference calls with potential clients. So I go out there and I look at conference call websites, and they all look like this, by the way. It's a big stock photo of a conference room, and then a few different packages, all of which say learn more, all of which have some free component, and then it gets down to the pricing. How do I know which service to use? There's no result. None of them tell me what's going to happen if I actually choose their service. They just tell me at the very face value what they're providing. Do I want it or don't I want it? And that's what I'm telling you to do. Go beyond. Go the extra mile. Don't just list what you do. Explain what incredible things users will get if they choose you. Give them a big bear hug. Tell them to choose you, because they cannot afford not to choose you. The Ben the Bodyguard site, scrolling down, they've got this prose with the header, protect your friends. Now, protect your friends could easily say, manage contacts. Protect your friends is a result. That's what you get if you download. Oh, I want to protect my friends. Of course I do. It's not about the feature. It's not about the functionality. It's not about the company. It's about me. It's the result I get. I'm the one buying from you, so tell me what I get. Tell me why I should give a shit to buy from you instead of the 50 people who are doing exactly the same thing as you. Kenny Myers, portfolio site, says things like, you're overworked and need help. I will beat the crap out of these projects for you. You will learn the fine tradition of a weekend. If you want to hire a front-end developer, this is the dude you're going to hire, because you don't want to babysit a consultant. You don't want to worry about whether or not he is going to deliver. You want a damn weekend. And this guy's going to provide it for you. And this goes far beyond just listing the skill sets of technical things that you can deliver. It's really result-oriented. The Nike Better World site, same thing. Our products are a load of rubbish. Oh, that's funny. No, it's true. Because they are talking about how their products are environmentally friendly and what they're doing for social good. Now, if you're just out buying shoes and you know that this purchase reinforces environmental acts like this, maybe you would be the person who would buy from Nike instead. I happen to buy my shoes based on comfort, so probably wouldn't make a difference to me, but maybe for you. Maybe for you. All right, and finally, credible content is confident. It's not conceited, and there's a fine line here. If you're a global digital agency and you've been around for decades, you probably have racked up a lot of accolades and completely deserve to talk about them. But if on your homepage you expect that users will sort through 870 more items praising you and your abilities as an agency, I don't know. I'm questioning whether or not you're actually thinking about the user more than you're thinking about yourself. It's really crucial from a credibility standpoint that you don't over-promote. You want to showcase your confidence while still being humble. And I think another digital agency that does a good job of this is Action Marketing Group. Got 2 seconds, got 2 minutes. That's all they're saying. We haven't even told you anything about us, but we're thinking about you and your time. Which of these do you need? Because we can confidently sell ourselves in one of these 2 time buckets. Peerless is a faucet and fixture company. And on their homepage, they've got shameless faucet show-offery. Not even a word, but totally stoked about what they do, that they actually have a designated spot on their homepage where you can go and look at pictures of their actual customers with their faucets and their shower heads, talking about how excited they are about faucets. That's pretty confident. And by the way, all of their instruction manuals are hand-drawn illustrations of like dudes under a sink and their mouths open and it's like rust is falling in their mouth and it says like, don't fix your sink with your mouth open. It's really great. I don't know if you have Peerless over here, but if you do, you should get them. All right, and Southwest.com has, across their lifetime, taken the fine print, like baggage fees, and they've blown it up and they've made it the headline because they know that you're more likely to buy a ticket from them if they're transparent, if they're confident, if they show you that they know what they're doing and they're not trying to screw you. This has been essentially their campaign, is to take that small, that fine print and really make it front and center. Okay, so now we have written credible content. It's helpful, meaningful, results-oriented, and confident. And now, this is the details. It's going through and making sure that it's consistent in structure, voice, and style. And just some tips on each of these. When it comes to structure, again, you want to just lead with the meat. If you only have 1 sentence to make an impression, what is it going to be? Don't take your time to write this grand story or ask question after question trying to define the problem statement before you get in there and tell them that you can really fix it. Just tell them what it is you want to tell them up front. Lead with the meat. And again, include only what's relevant. I'm going to give you a tip on how to do that in a bit, but it's very important that you think some of these items that we could include in the content may not actually be relevant to our target audience. Again, think about what that person sitting across the table from you needs to know in order to make a decision. And then finally, use keywords throughout. So it's natural for the eye to track the page. What's going to be important to that user? Make sure that that user sees visual keywords visually throughout the page to help anchor and orient around some of these credible characteristics of content that we talked about earlier. Voice. Sounds easy, not so easy. But here are a couple ways to get around that. You just want to write in a genuine tone. Write the way you want to write. You can always go back and fix it, but just write the way you want to write to start. Avoid bloated statements. It's very easy, especially when you're close to a product. If you've been involved in the development of a product, for example, it's very easy to forget that the user doesn't know a damn thing about what you have. So you can write, because it's in your brain, you can write endlessly about how awesome your product is and all the features that it has, and the user doesn't even know why they should care yet. So avoid writing bloated statements that are really just technical or marketing. And rewrite anything that sounds ridiculous when read out loud. This is a tip that I still use on a rather regular basis. So I fall into the trap of writing these sentences that are like these beautiful sentences, and I'm like, oh, someday someone will read this, and they'll just be so impressed with my writing. And it's like, I read it and I sound like an arrogant prick. Like, I have no concept of what somebody actually reads. And I'm so impressed with my own writing. So read it out loud, and if it sounds ridiculous, it is. And most of the time, you can just pull it back into something that somebody actually will read and be able to digest. And finally, style. So when it comes to style, these are the details. These are the real details. Do you want to end your lists with full stops? Yes or no? Just pick one and go with it. Capitalization and punctuation in headings. This isn't just on your homepage. Pick a style, title caps, sentence caps, whether or not you're going to use full quotation marks or singles, those sorts of details. And just make sure that they're consistent across everything, not just your homepage, but again, into your email and onto the blog posts and those sorts of things, so that it's consistent. Never, ever questions that credibility. It's just consistent. And then there are some differences between usage like login and sign up, which are almost always 2 words, separate. Not sign up or login, 1 word, 2 words. I can tell you why they would be 1 word afterwards, not getting into it now, almost always 2 words. Versus website, 1 word, website, 2 words. I mean, the web has not been around long enough that there are these hard and fast rules, style guides. You can pick which one you want to use and just consistently use it. I think a site that does this every single day and has for years is woot.com. They were the first deal-a-day site, started in like, I don't know, 2004 or 2005 or something. Anyway, they don't even try to sell. They just focus on the content. This is a blanket with sleeves. And everything about the content, they make a story about it. So this particular story, they are trying to tell you that this blanketed with sleeves is perfect if you are in trouble with the law and you are running away and you need to sleep on a train. This is the perfect getaway tool. So anyway, I confirmed just a few weeks ago, actually in Seattle, a conference with their editorial director, that most people who come to their site on a daily basis do not make purchases, but they come. They have even traffic because they're coming to read the story. So when they actually see something that's not a blanket with sleeves, unless that's your thing, when they actually see something they want to buy, they don't even think about it. They just buy it because they believe so strongly in this company, in the credibility and in the consistency of their content, that they're consistently focused on delivering a great experience. So, compelling content. It's focused, it's credible, it's consistent. How do you do it? How do you do it? How am I doing? How am I doing? Time? Oh, good, sweet, all right. It's only gonna take like 5. We're gonna end early, all right. So, how do you start? All right, don't be scared. 4 steps. You're gonna go for it, okay? We're gonna write, we're gonna choose, rewrite, and then prioritize. And I'm gonna give you a little tool for how to do this well. So the first thing, you're looking at a blank piece of paper. This is not actually one of the steps. You're not gonna panic, okay? Seriously, don't panic. First thing you're gonna do, you're gonna write your pitch with reckless abandon. Do not edit. This is so hard, okay? Do not edit. You're just gonna write. Typos, whatever, I don't give a shit. You're just gonna write. Think about that person sitting across the table from you. If you only had 5 seconds to impress him or her, what's something that you would say? These short snippets, I'm using Ben the Bodyguard as my example here, but these short snippets are just a way for you to start getting out some of the stuff that might ultimately end up in some form in that blank spot on your comp or in the content itself. And you can start here. I mean, for my own personal website, this is how I started. I took a text file and I wrote all the things I wanted to say. This is exactly, and then I did the design around it. This is the same idea. Once you have written everything, and it's down, and it might be a half page, it might be 70 pages, it's everything that you could think of saying in one line. You're gonna go through and you're gonna highlight the meatiest stuff. You're gonna highlight not the sentences that you like. You're gonna highlight the words in the sentence that you think embody your company or your product or your service, and also those same words that you think are gonna help that user make a decision. So in the case of Ben the Bodyguard, it's, you know, things about the product, things about the story that's being told with the app, and then things that the user really cares about: privacy, protection, sensitive data, security. Once you've done this, you're gonna go back and rewrite all those one-liners with only the meat, only the things you've highlighted. You're gonna use those highlighted words and you're gonna write new sentences, combining them together. Sure, you're gonna have some pronouns and those sorts of things here and there. But now you've taken what was essentially a brain dump, you've found the best stuff that's most meaningful, and then you have crafted sentences out of the most meaningful stuff. You could stop here. You could easily stop here. Take this to the design, take this wherever you need to in your existing process, and have more compelling content. If you wanted to go a step further, you could prioritize it by aligning it with the business motivation and the expected user goal. So in the case of Ben the Bodyguard, we have that first line, "A Frenchman protecting your secrets." Yes, seriously. The motivation behind that from a business perspective is to pique the interest that the app is all about data privacy. And then we obviously want the user to solve that problem. We want the user to think, yes, I do have that problem and I need to solve it, so I'm gonna download your app. Same thing with like this features, right? These are some features, protecting your passwords, photos, contacts, and other stuff. But then it says on your iPhone or iPod Touch, because it's really important that your audience know whether or not he or she could actually use your app. So the business motivation is to describe the benefits of the app and list the supported platforms. And obviously the user goal here is that we want the user to think, yes, those features are important to me, and I have an iPhone or iPod Touch, so I can download the app. What this does is allows you to find out which of these sentences that you've made actually are aligned with business and user goals. If you find yourself struggling to fill in any of the blocks in those right two columns, it should throw into question whether or not that first sentence should be included. Because if it doesn't actually align with a business goal or a user goal, it's possibly fluff. It's possibly not something that should be included. Sometimes, I mean, you can include stuff that isn't perfectly business and user aligned, but it's a risk. So, like I said, this is more of the optional side. It just makes sure that what you're including actually reinforces some business or user goal. But at the end of the day, it's just about giving it a shot. Whether you're at your desk, or whether you're trying to change a process within your organization, it's just about doing it. And you can do it. You can do it. I believe in you. Because you're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.